Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1000 Gurus with me, your host, J.R. Yonocruz. Today's guest is Mai Vo. Mai is a full-time tenure-track professor teaching chemistry. He earned his B.S. in both chemistry and biology while at UCI and studied abroad. He then went on to earn his master's in chemistry. He teaches at a community college during the day, and after work you can typically find him playing tennis or rock climbing. This was a great conversation. I loved catching up with another college friend who shares similar interests and mindsets as I do. He's a fantastic teacher and gives such insightful reflections. Mai is a wealth of information, and I think it'd be cool to have him back on the show to get some of his thoughts on topics we didn't get to. But in this show we cover his background growing up, how he picked chemistry as a major and how it led to him being a college professor in OC, how he got into so many different hobbies like tricking, rock climbing, dance, tennis, and photography, his pursuits of getting better in all of them, how he managed to buy his first home on a single income. We talk about side hustle culture, dating culture, and his change from being frugal to enjoying life a bit more, which he claims has made him a bit more extroverted and social. So without further ado, please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Mai Vo. Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Mai, welcome to the show. Insert applause. Cool. Thanks for being here, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right. So I know we caught up a little bit before the recording started, but I will go into how I know you for those of you. I would have already read your bio to the audience, but I don't think the bio does you justice. So I'll give you a little bit more context for the audience. So Mai and I, we danced for the same team in college, URMO at UCI, formerly Urban Modus, and we're both in the ACD fam. If you know, you know. We both trick, and also we collabed this one time. I don't know if you read or saw that, but like I wish I had the video, but I didn't record it, or I don't think I have a
Yeah.
recording. But then we collabed, right? And then you showcased it, but I couldn't make it. And maybe they recorded it and posted it somewhere in like their archives, but like I never had one of me doing it. So I was like, dang, I even forgot what it looked like.
It's
But
okay. It was mostly you. I was first year of dancing then, couldn't do much yet.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun though. I remember having fun. I don't remember what it looked like. I don't remember if it was good. I just remember having fun just collabing with you. So yeah, so that's cool. I follow your posts on social media, and it usually includes, like I mentioned, your rock climbing endeavors, and then sometimes hilarious emails from your students asking for extensions or just funny stuff and whatnot. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. It's been cool to see you grow and your journey and whatnot, and also just to reconnect. So, any clarifications we should know, or what else you've been up to?
I think you pretty much covered everything. Just living my life, working as a community college professor, and enjoying my hobbies.
Nice, yeah. And then I think we'll get into it too. But then you mentioned like buying your own home a couple years back, which is fantastic, super cool. Props to you. It's like the dream, man.
Yeah. It's expensive though.
No, I bet, yeah. I have some of my Cabo Modern friends too who have who, bought their first houses and stuff like that. And they're like, man, so house poor right now. And then some of us were like, man, you have a house? And then my other friend was like, you guys have rooms? You're stupid.
Meme.
Yeah, exactly. That one. Yeah. Cool. All right. So anything else? Otherwise, we'll go into topics. Let's jump straight in.
Hits
You're
everything.
like, no. You're like, yeah, let's get into it. All right, cool. So as usual, we'll go into origin story, career path. So first question, where did you grow up, Mai, and what were your main influences?
I grew up in Westminster in Orange County. If you can't tell by my name, I am Vietnamese. So I think Westminster makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
local grown.
yeah, pretty much born and raised. Influences. It's kind of weird to say, but I feel like my high school is actually really impactful.
Wait,
My
which
high
high
school
school
is
did
this
you go to?
weird bubble. I went to Westminster High School, more
Okay.
stereotypical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of people that meet me, they kind of say I'm like this weird person that does so much, does so many different things. But then you meet my friends from high school, and I feel like we're all kind of similar. We just dive into every different hobby and just enjoy doing everything.
So is there just something in the water at your high school, or like what's going on?
Yeah, the Westminster water is really good, huh? I think it's probably just like being inspired from each other. Like one guy will start a hobby or start, cooking, for example. And then as he improves, post more, we'll see that, like, oh, he's doing that. Like, why can't I do that? Or we'll, invite each other to experience things. Like, I have vivid memories of me and my high school peers in like our sophomore year of high school, literally going to the gym at like 4 a.m. right before classes because we could.
Was it just your friends who are like that, who just kind of did a lot of things, or is it just like everyone in your school, or is it like the city or the OC culture? Do you think it's like that?
I think it's a lot of people in my high school. I think also kind of similarly, kind of weird. I didn't feel like we were super cliquey. You obviously had your close
Okay.
group of friends and more common groups, but I feel
Yeah.
like everyone was on really good terms with each other. Everyone knew each other. Like whenever I hear people who don't recognize others from their high school, that's really strange and foreign to me. And it's not like my high school was exceptionally small or anything. I think my graduating
Mm,
class was still like 400. I have heard
mhm,
there are
mhm.
bigger high schools out there, so maybe that's why. But
So you think it's like partially because of like it's maybe a smaller-ish school, and so it's like a more tight-knit community?
maybe. Yeah, I think it's just the culture also. Like we're all
Mm,
out there grinding, doing different things, trying to do the best we can.
yeah. Would you say like your group of friends at your high school was like on the nerdier side? When I say nerdier, I mean it in the best possible way. Like, you know, those high
Yeah.
achieving sort of Asians? Or was it like mixed? I don't know.
I feel like not as bad as the stereotype can be, but I think it's also kind of a culture thing because I didn't grow up like in the most well, Westminster is not super well off. Like I believe the statistic back then is like 90+% of students are on like government assistance. So they get like free lunch and stuff. So that's very normal for us, meaning we're not getting like extra tutoring, extra classes outside. We're just doing the best we can with what we have, you know? So then with that, I think we're trying to really utilize and do everything best we can because we know we don't really get extra on top of that.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I asked because where I grew up, NorCal, like Southeast Bay. So I was fortunate enough to live on the side of the track, so to speak, where all of my Asian friends were very like, they had tiger parents, well off, lived in mansions. I did. I definitely did not grow up rich. But like, they were like all AP classes, have to get into most of them got into like Berkeley and like Stanford and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so being around that helped me because it's like, oh, I can probably do more. But just right across the city where like my cousins grew up in like Milpitas, for anyone who knows the area, it's more of like not well off, like kind of like what you're saying. And so a lot of my cousins and people in that area, especially a lot of Filipinos who just live in Milpitas, there's a whole thing there. But anyways, they don't really aspire to go to college a lot, right? And so like it was more just I just so happened to go in this district and that made me want to go to college and stuff like that. But being surrounded by a lot of these high achievers, I think that's part of like the osmosis of that. So I was just curious what it was like at like Westminster High if it was similar.
Yeah. I'm sure individuals definitely had their tiger parents. I don't think our goals were as high. Like no one really aspired to go out of state. Maybe a few, but it's very rare. So for us, it's kind of just like a UC or bus mindset. And that was it back then, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so going into UCI, right? Like so high school, what influenced you to wanting to double major in biology and chemistry?
So this kind of sounds really counterintuitive, but I literally went to UCI out of my options because I was too lazy and unable to go check out like any other campuses. So I literally just went to UCI. It's close, it's easy, it worked out. And then I think kind of related to the upbringing. I honestly feel kind of stupid now thinking about it in hindsight. I honestly didn't know crap. I don't know how much I'm allowed to swear here, but I honestly didn't know crap
You
going to
can't.
college. Okay, cool. I'm gonna swear more then.
Go for it.
I didn't know what majors there were or anything besides what I was good at in high school. So I was good at STEM. I was good at chemistry. I liked bio. And at the time, I didn't really know a lot of jobs. Like, honestly, I didn't even know you could do an econ degree. And I loved econ. I wish I did that. I didn't even know
Mm,
computer science was a thing. And like, I'm not that old. What, I'm 32 this year. I graduated from college like 11 years ago. So it's just like the upbringing I knew. I feel like my options very limited just by being ignorant. From
uh,
there, I wanted to be a high school teacher originally. I wanted to teach chemistry and biology at a local high school because I had really great STEM teachers at my high school. Although, honestly, some crazy stuff with that. We had like, with the Epstein files right now, too, we actually had like two different biology teachers who got charged for like sodomy and, underage relationships.
wow,
So,
crazy.
in hindsight, they're great teachers, but maybe some personal things to work on.
Yeah, right. Of course, of course. Dang, that's great. So in high school, going into college, I guess so the way I want to phrase this is like you basically went in based on like ignorance, right? Meaning I don't really know what's out there, so let's just chemistry and so you went in double major, but you knew you wanted to teach high school in those fields, or
Mm,
at least that was the goal.
yeah, those are the options. That's what I thought.
Gotcha,
Part of
gotcha.
it was I didn't think I was intelligent enough to go pre med.
I see, I see. But I mean, I've never been a STEM major, but like, isn't biology and chemistry also hard?
Yeah. Now I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha,
and
gotcha.
honestly, once I went through it, I was like, dude, I totally could have done pre-med. But I was pretty happy with the route I took, and I told myself as long as I got to where I am now, I'd be perfectly content with the route I took.
Hey, that's cool, man. Okay, so you graduate double major. How did that transition into? Did you go straight into your master's or?
I didn't. I kind of a funny tidbit also. So UCI used to have this program for your master's in chemistry and your T credentials at the same time. So this is going to be after undergrad. I was planning to do this program totally the entire time when I was in undergrad. And I remember graduating, being actually at an Irmo summer retreat. I tried to look up the website for this program and the website was gone. Yeah, so I called them about it and they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry. We actually canceled this program like 2 years ago."
Damn.
Yeah, so then I had like a, moment of panic. Basically, the route I was planning on was just gone like that. So I worked in a lab for a year first and then eventually decided to get my master's in chemistry anyways. Just that though at Cal State Long Beach.
Okay. So so there was this program which was like both teaching and your master's, but that went away, and then you worked at a lab, and then you eventually went back just to get your master's. Gotcha. Okay. So then, but there was no other. So you still wanted to teach at that point, right? So
Yeah,
then was
the
that the
plan was
route?
to
It's
get
just
my
like,
master's that would
yeah.
give me a higher paying salary because I have a higher degree. And then I figured I can get my teacher credentials after my master's.
Okay. So did you end up doing that, or how did you end up getting the teaching position now?
All right. It's kind of a weird pathway people don't realize, but for teaching like K through 12, you need to have like a degree and then you get your teaching credentials. For teaching at the college level, let's say the community college level, you need your like bachelor's as well. And then you actually don't need your teaching credentials at all. You just need a higher level degree or to prove you have worked equivalent experience. So as long as you have your master's, you can then teach community college. From there, if you want
Oh,
to
okay.
maybe teach at like a university like UCI, you would need your PhD level.
Oh, okay. So teaching at K through 12, you need your bachelor's plus a teaching degree, credentials,
Essentially.
and then community college, you bachelor's as well, but you also need you don't need a teaching credential?
You don't. So the idea of community college is you're more a content expert than a teaching expert.
I see. So it's like quote unquote lower bar, but essentially it's like they don't need you to necessarily be an expert at teaching
Yeah,
or
it's
that's
different. Yeah, so at community college, you're like an expert of your subject, or at least on your way there. While at like K through 12, you're more about like pedagogy. You actually know how to teach. So it actually creates some very interesting issues about the different teaching levels.
I can see. Interesting. Yeah. So they're like, okay, you need to know how to teach more than just for K through 12, more than just necessarily being a content expert. But community college
Mhm.
is like, okay, we should need to learn the contents. I'm sure the college students will be fine. But then you said
Yeah,
for university, it's different. Like you need a PhD.
you need a PhD essentially, but it's also because universities tend to be research focused more so than
Mm,
teaching focused. Which, as UCI students, I'm sure you've seen that experience.
yeah, that makes sense. So I have a friend who teaches at UC. I just interviewed him on the show like a couple episodes ago. But yeah, he was talking about like he doesn't do research, so he's what's it called, adjunct professor. But I don't he definitely does not have a PhD, and he's not interested in it, but he's able to because he teaches like video game development at UCI. And so I guess his obviously he has a bachelor's, but he has a wealth of industry experience. So I guess that works out. So I think that's interesting. I didn't know that there's different routes, I guess, and different qualifications.
Yeah, and that still makes sense because then from there he could say he's like an expert in that field because of that experience. So then you would apply for like equivalency essentially, where
Oh,
you're
okay,
saying
equivalency,
that I don't have
gotcha.
this degree, but I've done equivalent work, so I am an expert.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Hmm. Taking personal notes because one of my goals is to be a professor one day. So we'll see. I don't know if a PhD or anything like that is in my in my targets yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, being an
Um,
adjunct at community college isn't that competitive, so you could definitely
okay.
do that, and you can still be a
Okay.
professor.
Nice. Okay, yeah. I mean, I just need to check the box and then we'll see how it goes from there. Nice. I'll note that down. Okay, so I know this was also a planned question, but career aspirations going into college, you mentioned that. Has it changed since then at all? I mean, I know you teach now, but
Yeah, so I still teach, but I didn't even know I could teach at community college with just a master's. I assumed you needed a PhD, and most instructors do actually. But the minimum requirement is a master's or equivalency. So for me, I was still planning to teach high school when I started my master's program, but when I started the program, then I had a teaching internship at a community college, and I was like, "This is a pretty sweet gig. You get different hours. Assuming you have kids eventually, you can kind of sync up your breaks and schedule better with them."
that makes sense. So, do you still want to teach high school or do you have other career aspirations in the next 5 or so years?
Yeah, no, the high school teaching is long gone. I'm
Okay,
basically
okay.
set. This will be my end goal position, actually. Sorry.
Okay. So just like tenure track
Yep,
and
exactly.
like
So
okay.
I recently got employed at IVC about 2 years ago, and it is a
Yeah.
10-year track position. So that process is 4 years.
Okay, that's awesome. So then it's just like you're like, okay, this is the track, teach at community college, or would you want to like move to university, or I don't know, like what's the goal?
Yeah, so I just want to stay at community college because you didn't go to community college either, right?
Mm-mm-mm.
So community college, it's really nice to be an instructor because you are there to teach realistically versus teaching at university, unless you are like a lecturer or adjunct position, you're there to do research and maybe teach. So if you care about teaching and enjoy teaching like I do, getting to do that community college is perfect.
Interesting. Okay, so you're saying that there's more of a focus on teaching like in the trenches rather than mostly research and then some teaching or something like that, right?
Exactly. We are there strictly to teach.
Interesting. Okay. That's really cool to know. I didn't know that, but it makes sense. Okay. Last thing on this topic is studying abroad. So, where'd you study abroad and how long? You mentioned it, so I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I studied abroad in Western Europe. It was a 10-week program because UCI is annoyingly on the quarter system. So the reason why it's really annoying, did you study abroad?
I went to South Korea.
South Korea, is that during the summer or school year?
Yeah, summer.
Okay, yeah, so that's not a bad idea, but let's say you want to try and study abroad during the school year, try not doing a quarter system. The issue with that is since UCs besides Berkeley are on the quarter system, you will rarely get placed into an actual university because they're on the semester system. So
Mm,
we're out of sync. So in the program, I was basically just stuck together with a bunch of other UC kids, which is cool. We got close, but I feel like it gave a very different experience because we weren't really embedded with the students and then by default, not as much in the culture either.
I see. Okay, so it's like a separate sort of program, so to speak.
Yeah, we were literally in some like random rented building, it felt like.
Oh, damn, that's crazy. So you said Western Europe? It was a specific city, country?
I was in Rome for 5 weeks and Madrid for another 5 weeks. So it
Okay, so it
intentionally had a switch in the middle.
oh, interesting. I didn't know that it went like that. So I know that there's some people, some of my friends who studied abroad in I think Cambridge, if I'm not, yeah, somewhere. And then also a lot of my friends they always do Asia, was mostly Korea.
Yeah.
But yes, but Korea they had like also semester, so you would have I don't know what it's called, spring and winter or whatever. But then they had a special summer program, the international school, and so it kind of worked out because everyone was doing summer. But then you also had I don't know how the semester worked, but it was fun because it's also like vacation. But I can see how it get if you don't do that and you're kind of going off the quarter system, it can be kind of wonky. But yeah, wait, what year was that? What year were you in?
I went during my very last quarter at UCI, actually, which is
Okay,
why
so then.
I missed the Irmograph photos. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, it seems
Yeah.
like it
So
was
there's
worth it,
a
right?
photo where TN photoshopped me in with the others because I wasn't there.
Nice. We like conclusion. Okay, cool. All right. Anything else on career path, origin story, studying abroad that you want to touch on before we pivot?
No, I think I covered it all.
Nice. Okay. So this one's a fun one. So extracurriculars and hobbies. I think one of your superpowers, in my opinion, is that you just do so many things. And so I admire and respect that about you. You just kind of do things and you're fully into it. So rock climbing, tennis, tricking, dance, of course, and photography. So what was the backstory of all these? Like, how did you get into them?
I think with me, a big thing about my personality is if I'm interested in something, I'll just go and do it. So literally photography was, I used to steal my sister's, it's not DSLR, I guess like digital camera, shoot with that. And then eventually when I could fund it for myself, bought my own DSLR. For rock climbing, this one I vividly remember because it was so weird and everyone pointed it out. I literally went by myself in high school to this gym in Huntington Beach that was like 20-ish minute drive, I think, because there's a good deal on Groupon and I was curious. So then literally you had me in like high school biking by myself to the gym to climb by myself, where eventually then I would kind of start dragging friends in and get a lot of friends to try climbing eventually. And that's also similar to how I started tricking as well, actually. I had Tempest free running, super random. They had a performance at our high school. And then I started going to open gym because I wanted to learn parkour. And eventually I found tricking instead, which I thought was much safer.
Mm, same. I agree. That's why I never did parkour.
Yeah, buildings are too tall, ground is much lower.
It's yeah, and cement is too hard.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you learn to trick at loop kicks?
With loop kicks, like they had those seminars and like different camps and stuff that I would go to and sessions. So I would go out like in high school to like their park sessions or their gym sessions and just like be around greatness. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. And I'm just a freaking park trick. I mean, we were all park trickers, right? Like we just threw ourselves around at the park, but like to see actual, artisans of the craft and like athletes, I'm like, this is cool. But also, I mean, I know you're going to go into this, but that was also the reason I pretty much why I got to Cabo Modern was just because I could do flips. I mean, I had some base level of dancing skills, sure, but I'm like, I know it's because I did a flip in my audition. I know I stood out, and that was by design. I definitely wanted to get in. So,
I totally relate. I'm like 90% sure that's why I got to Irmo because my dance during the audition, horrible.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was good enough, right? Um, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, imposter syndrome my entire first, second year. I'm like, dude, everyone in my class is so amazing, and I'm like trash. And you eventually get over that, but it's still like, I'm just here to do flips, man. I'm just trying to learn my best. But yeah, sorry, you're talking about like tricking, and then anything else on that?
Besides that, I think just tennis as well as the last hobby. And so I feel like most of these I've done since high school, just decided to start doing it. And then at different points in my life, just got really invested in it, got better at it. And I just kept those skills. Like I stopped seriously tricking almost 10 years ago and I could still land everything I could ever land.
Dang, I'm jealous of you, man. Age has not slowed you down because it's definitely slowed me down, especially lower back pain.
I feel it the next day, just I'll still try it.
Right, right. Dang, that's crazy. I was gonna say, yeah, I'm curious, and I don't know how to jump off on this point, pun intended, I guess. But I think what I was talking to before we started recording is I think usually people have like one, maybe two hobbies, and then they have their career they're trying to focus on, especially if we try to go into the mindset of a college student, right? And then we try different things, we meet a lot of new people and it's fun. And then it's like, oh, I graduate, I need to focus on my career. But it seems like you've been doing a lot of different things from high school, continued it through college and afterwards. I'm just curious about, do you have any thoughts on like the mindset of someone like yourself who likes to do different things? Because maybe here's a counterpoint just for jumping off, where some people think I need to focus on something in order to get good at it. And sometimes there's an end goal, right? But I think you and I know that we don't need end goals to have hobbies and to have fun and to do things. But it is a valid, I guess, concern or perspective. But what are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
I think in terms of doing a lot of different hobbies, doing a lot of different things, I kind of mentioned it, but I pretty much picked up all these in high school at the same time, which I think really helped set like a tone for myself. Because as you are busy, you get used to being busy, it then becomes your new normal, and then you can add on more. And then you kind of repeat the process over and over. So where it seems like a lot, it's just your normal level. And it's not too bad. In terms of doing a lot of different things, doing them well, I can definitely agree. You could do like too many different things and not be super good or not the best at it. But for me, I've always kind of thought, well, in this whole planet, there's like what, I don't know, 7 billion people now. The number's probably changed. You're not going to be the best at anything, realistically. If you are, holy crap, you're amazing. Good job. But for the most of us humans, we're just going to get really good. And for me, that's good enough. But I think also nowadays, with like these people getting really invested in their hobbies and sports, there's actually a lot of like overuse injuries happening because they're doing the same motions, the same sports, same throws over and over and over again. And so, I mean, I'm sure you're aware, like LeBron's longevity is insane. And a lot of people think it's actually because he did football and basketball. So he didn't have like just all his eggs in one basket with basketball. He kind of like spread out the wear and tear in his body. And now he splurges a lot and takes care of his body. But like there's almost no one else. I can think of like Djokovic, who's also like insane longevity in tennis. But for these people nowadays who are like just trying really hard at one thing, the like overuse injuries happen a lot more frequently.
Okay, so you're saying there's an inherent health benefit to doing different types of hobbies, specifically in like the physical athletic realm of not just, let's say, just tennis, right? But other things like maybe dance or tricking or rock climbing, right? I'm curious though. So, like, I know you do things for fun, but, and you're saying like, if you become one of the best in the world, that's great. What is your goal or mindset on doing so many different things as opposed to maybe like dialing, and maybe it's not all physical, right? Maybe it's a creative thing as opposed to like focusing in on something. Like what are your thoughts on that?
I think for me, honestly, I just hate sucking at stuff. So all the best
So you
time
actually, so you
until
want to get better at these things.
definitely do. I want to get good for myself and compare to myself, I think is a really important thing. You can definitely compare to your friends as kind of a benchmark. But I think at the end of the day, you're really competing against yourself, your own body, what you can do. But I will also actually round back. I don't think it's just overlapping of physical sports. I do think there's also like mental and physical overlap as well. When I play tennis, I play doubles, singles, all that. Like I'll talk to my friends about my strategies, what I'm thinking when I'm playing, and they're like, "Why are you using your head so much? Like just hit the ball." And just for me, that's my personality. Like I use my brain when I do things. I'm trying to think a lot about how to play to win easier. And then even related to that, I used to work at a rock climbing gym as a setter who like designs the climbs, put holds on the wall. And one of the questions my eventual boss asked was like, "Do you have any artistic hobbies?" And that seemed really left field, but because the way he described it is when you are creating these climbs for the wall, you are creating art for people to climb on and experience. So he wanted to see that you had that kind of artistic eye to translate to climbing, a physical sport.
I see. It's interesting. Let me know if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're the type of person who you're not only maybe ambitious is not the word. It's like you're constantly trying to grow and the you like improving and seeing that progression, but you also like trying different things and you know inherently that it's good to do a lot of different things. But also, I guess like what is personality type? Do you know your MBTI?
I am INTP, the logician, which all my
Okay.
friends says is very
Yeah.
fitting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I was like, you must be some sort of INT because I'm INTJ. And so I was deep diving into like the different what they mean. But that makes sense. Kind of like, yeah, logician, strategist, or like thinking like a process oriented in order for like growth and kind of more internal because it seems like you're like a solo go-getter, which again
Yeah.
definitely fits, right? I feel like I'm the same way.
Yeah, I think the funniest
Um,
thing is that Ronnie and I apparently have the same personalities, but everyone who knows both of us is like, that's weird. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be like an outward expression versus like the internal how your mind works, right? Like we can look different externally, but internally we're very similar.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very similar too. It's like that sort of like when you're saying, "Hey, I just want to see growth and improvement. I like trying new things." I'm like, "Ah, I vibe with that," but I think it's because we're similar personality types. Okay, I think you touched upon everything that I wanted to ask, but I guess maybe just to wrap up this part, advice, lessons learned, general reflections on how you approach all these different hobbies or people who might be interested in different things like you are. Like any advice on how to pursue all of them?
I think the easiest way is kind of what I already said. Just go out and do it. The only thing that's really holding you back, I feel like, besides making money and time, is yourself. And if you really cared to do it, you would make the time for it. Money, yeah, it's a little harder, I'll admit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I have another question. So there's a cost and there's a cost benefit sort of thing with having a lot of hobbies too, and that could be social life, right? Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate, not like I agree or disagree.
Oh,
But
for sure.
so you're doing all these things by yourself, and then some people might say, "Oh, but hanging out and all this other stuff, and yeah, hobbies are good." But then, at what point do you balance that out with like things that require you to be out, or I don't know. I don't really have a cohesive thought, but what do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think that doing all these different hobbies does take a lot of time, and I do agree with that. And you do need to, like I said, prioritize your time somewhere. So I think a part of growing up has been realizing that your friend isn't necessarily who you see like once a week or a month or even a year at this point. But for a lot of us, we've kind of realized that your friends are the ones that you kind of just pick up conversations right where you left off and you're still good. As adults, I don't think any of my friends nowadays expects like weekly conversations. It's just too hard, especially going to UCI. Our social bubble has got way too big.
Yeah. That makes sense. Sorry, another last thought is how do you get good at a lot of different things? This is a very broad question, I get it, but
Fair.
as someone who is also very like achievement oriented and I do like getting good at stuff, how do you approach developing skill in one or many different areas?
I think the easiest way, and I think you would agree with this, is find a mentor in some shape or form. Doesn't need to be an explicit mentor, but someone who can guide you. Typically, this means someone's better. For example, if you just climb with better climbers, you play with better tennis players, you will get better. And then the other part of that is just going out to do the thing as well. As I took more and more photos, I think that really did help refine my skills. And I started learning from my mistakes and improving from those as well.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward then. So finding mentors, find a community of other people who want to grow and improve on what you want to do, and then also just doing the thing, of course, right? Putting in the reps. I like it. Cool. All right, let's shift over then. Topic number three. Wow, we're like pretty much on time. So this is a multi-topic, which is you mentioned quote unquote growing up poor, side hustle culture, and dating. And so I guess we'll go in order. But so you mentioned one of the achievements that you're proud of is buying a condo on a single income 2 years ago, and also quote unquote growing up poor. And I mentioned not sure if those are related, but I wanted to get your thoughts on those two things.
Yeah, they're probably related in some way. We'll find out after we keep talking, maybe. As I mentioned, people in Westminster, this might have been during our pre talk, but I think it was during this. Like most people come out of their, I guess, childhood with government assistance. For me, also, my parents were divorced. So that pretty much automatically threw me like government assistance pool. So I was eventually able to buy a condo, and I can admit it wasn't fully on my own. For the initial down payment, I used a program through the city of Santa Ana. There's a lot of these programs as long as you qualify for it. And I will admit this is where I was really lucky because I was like right below the cutoff for where I qualified for this program. Applied, got approved, bought my condo. And then as soon as I got my condo, a few months later, I basically got my new job and I was over that cutoff. So I was in this
Oh, so
nice, Mhm.
so you have to be under a certain threshold of income, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because you're
To
qualified
qualify.
as like low income or below median
Gotcha.
income, essentially.
Gotcha. So you're like, okay, hope I get this before I get a new job.
Yeah, the timing was insane. But also kind of lucky, unlucky if you were in Orange County, like the median income's pretty high relative to the rest of the country. So depending where you're at on that, you could be right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's so I guess general thoughts for those of you who don't live in California or know. I mean, generally the housing market is crazy. Buying a house is crazy for various reasons. And so try doing that on a single income is amazing. And I know you said you had the assistance program and you were lucky, but I mean, were there any other aspects of that? Was it just getting lucky with the place you wanted or the spot that opened up? And then like how do you manage like the financial side of it, like balancing your finances and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely all that. There's a lot of good timing in addition to getting the job. But I think also growing up poor has made me a very frugal person. I really didn't spend that much during the pandemic. I literally just hustled and grinded, paid off my student loans, saved a lot of money because I knew I did want to put a down payment down on a property eventually. And I say property, making it sound like I've done a lot. This is my first and only
Yeah, yeah.
property, and that's the plan. Yeah, I think I mostly answered that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So why this may be a kind of sounds like a dumb question, but why did you want to buy a house or a property or like a condo? Because I asked this because let's say financially, right? Okay, so I love talking about personal finance. I'm like a
Yeah.
huge nerd and I do coaching. And so if you run the numbers, right? This is not controversial. So if you
Yeah.
run the numbers and if you like, let's say if financial growth is your goal, then it makes more sense if you live in California, especially in a high like property real estate area, that to like rent and then to save or invest the difference that you would be for a mortgage and like loan payments, right? Into like the stock market or whatever, and then you get better returns and then whatever you can do after that. But obviously buying a home is a very personal and a lifestyle decision, and obviously it's not wrong to want to own a home. So I know that's like a brain vomit and I'm not trying to lead the question, but I'm curious what, like being someone who's frugal and I assume you're decent with your finances, like why choose to buy a home or a condo as opposed to like saving, investing, etc., and continuing on that path?
Yeah, I didn't calculate the numbers myself. I read some things where I think, especially for like our area, where if you plan to stay in the area for about 5 years or more, that's about where the break even point is.
Okay.
Because if you are renting, costs do generally increase. But once you kind of lock in your property, besides like insurance increasing, it's pretty much a fixed cost. So you're totally right. In the short term, renting does win. But I think once we get into longer term, especially since I am now stuck in OC between my job and this condo, it was a really good decision for me.
That makes a lot of sense because it's kind of like a car, right? You can lease a car, I guess, and that could make some sense if you run the numbers. But if you, let's say, own the car and you don't pay a ton for it and you keep it for longer, you get more value out of it. And so your money goes further, right? So I guess similar concept.
Exactly, yeah, and there's also the peace of mind, like, once you own your car, you can do a lot more modifications to it,
Hmm.
and you have your own house, you can do whatever you want with the property as well, like
That makes
installing this
sense.
random wood slat thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have like a rock climbing wall at your place too?
Yeah, there's a rock climbing wall. I can flip the webcam over if you wanna see it real quick.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's up to you, but yeah, I've
It's pretty
seen it
easy.
on your stories. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So,
dope, man.
it's freestanding, so it's not as
Uh-huh.
big a deal, but
Yeah.
in theory, if I had my own property, I could make it attached to the house.
Oh, dang, that's crazy, man. I think you're the only, I mean, well, you're the only person I know who has a rock climbing wall in their house. But so that's pretty cool. Let's see. I had another thought, but yeah, was there, okay, frugality tips. Now I'm curious, like nuts and bolts, right? So I know you said the down payment assistance helped, and I'm assuming you were, or I don't want to assume anything. Like, were you looking in specific areas? Was there a threshold of like, okay, what can I afford, or is it just like you're like anywhere? So your mindset or thought process on that, and then how do you approach like being frugal, especially in this society where we all want to buy a lot of shit?
Yeah, that's actually something I was thinking. Second part of your question was something I was thinking a lot about during the car ride home before this. So let's talk about
Yeah,
that first. I think it's interesting.
sure.
For me, growing up, like I just mentioned, growing up poor, your expectations, what you're used to, is different. This I also realized once I got to college and met people who came from better backgrounds. But even I think just over the years, there's been this shift in how much you spend and what you should spend on. I feel like with the rise of social media, you probably felt it too. Life has been more glorified, where people love eating out like fancier places. Like I feel like there are people who eat omakase more than once a year, which is like almost insane, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I know there are people who like their goal is to travel internationally at least once a year, have a weekend trip at least once a year. And again, this is all totally valid. It's how you choose to spend your money. I just think it's interesting if you shift back like 10, 20 years, maybe because I was poor, my lens was different. But I feel like these expectations weren't as normalized. How do you feel about that? Maybe, growing up in the area you did, you had a different perspective.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. You're like back then, pre the explosion of social media nowadays, where we can see what everyone's doing and, everyone's highlight reels. You're saying that that has caused more of a shift of the demand, the want, wanting of more than we actually need or want. But if you kind of rewind the clock 10, 20 years or whatever, there wasn't that much of a pedestal of like, the common folk of us, like not the celebrities, but like us common
Yeah.
folk wanting to do all this stuff and outside of our reach. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like what we have normalized as like a normal life, it's been a
Mm,
lifestyle creep due to social media. as opposed to the normal one we associate with like an income increase.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that thought is very like pervasive for people either in California or people who see Californians because they're like, man, to live in California, you need to make a minimum of like 150K to survive out there. And I'm like, okay, I look at my finances every month. I know exactly what I spend and how much I spend each month. I'm like, is it that expensive to live here? Or are you guys just spending too much money on things you don't really know, like you're spending money on, or are you just so mindlessly spending money? Like, so maybe we're cut from the same cloth in that sense of like, yeah, I also grew up really frugal and like intentional with my money. And so for to someone to tell me like, yeah, you need 150K, I'm like, I don't need anything near that amount to live in California. I've lived in California my whole life, fairly successful. I get, granted, I don't have kids and blah, 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 and debt, but whatever. But yeah, no, I think I agree. But yeah, I don't know. Like, so you're saying part of it is the perspective you have of like not wanting of more, but is there anything else that you think attributes to maybe being better at their finances or staying frugal, or maybe a better way of phrasing this is putting your money towards things that matter. And so for you, obviously, it's like your house, your property, and then your hobbies. But how do you have any advice or thoughts on how people can see finances in a better way or more productive way?
I think I'm pretty sure it's always in a Reddit post. Like when you break down the math of things you're buying to the hours you work, so the time you had to basically work to earn it, it
Hmm.
really shifts how much you're willing to spend. Because like you eat a meal, it's like an hour, let's say, but it's like omakase, that's like 3, 4 hours of work. Like, do you value that meal that much for your 4 hours of work? And then I think that really helped to see like where do I want to spend my money. I think you also mentioned it too, but like I think side hustle culture also kind of helped me with my money, but also ruined my mental health a little bit. So I know you kind of like were curious what like side hustle culture is.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think you're also a good kind of proponent of it. Like we have our day jobs, we make good enough money there, but I feel like almost everyone our age does something a little bit extra, just make a little more money to help them live this life that they think they should be living.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. What, how do I start this? Did you have any side hustles, and like could you give an example of how that manifests? I get the macro idea of like, okay,
Yeah.
we all want to do more for whatever reason. Either we want to make more money or we need to afford living in California or whatever. But like, yeah, any personal examples?
For me, somehow in high school, I started getting to like flipping, selling things like arbitrage, buying things cheaper, selling them for more. That's pretty much gone through all my life with random things. Like I was selling climbing holds during the pandemic. I swear I made like a few $1,000s off that. It's great. And even today, nowadays, I string tennis rackets for a side hustle. That one, the pay's not so good, but I get to do it from home. It's kind of nice. It's chill, whatever.
Yeah. So are you saying it's just, I don't know what I'm trying to ask, but
Yeah.
are you saying side hustle culture is good, bad, mental health, just something to do, or is it just a normalized activity like a hobby? Or,
I think it's a unhealthily normalized thing
okay,
because then I think what did help me afford this condo that, was like this unicorn, this big goal, was that I essentially had to work more than full time outside of my full time job to get this extra money that made it more affordable to live. But also, the more time you're working, the less time you have to spend, which kind of helps.
I see, I see. So you're like, so inherently staying busy does help with not spending as much, but also you're saying that like your side hustle, your personal side hustle endeavor was to help afford, like, let's say this house and to make more income to supplement.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really interesting. Like, whenever I take an Uber or a Lyft, I always love talking to my driver because you meet some really interesting people who have like really great jobs and
Yeah.
maybe just do Uber for for fun to talk to people for a little extra money for their kids go to college. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for real. I think I think it's interesting because it's like you were saying, pay versus like the trade-off or how much your time costs. So let's assume our full-time job pays more than our part-time job, which is usually the case, right? So then if you decide to use your off hours, like your not full time hours, to work a side job or a side hustle or some sort of side business, then you are kind of giving up your time at a lower rate as opposed to if you could, well, let's say, what are the alternatives? Like you can use that on a free hobby or a hobby that doesn't really
Yeah.
make money or spending time with people or experiences or whatever, which, like you mentioned, costs money. So I think that's interesting. Like
I
if,
do want to kind of turn this around though, because most of my life I did grow up thinking I was an introvert. sometime within this past year, I kind of realized maybe I'm more extroverted than I thought I am. And that realistically, I was just too frugal or poor to want to go out to things. So lately, a
Interesting.
lot of friends have been pointing out that like I'm going out a lot nowadays. And I had to reflect on like what has changed. And I think it is that I don't feel so tied down financially to the confines of my house where I don't need to spend money. And now I'm more willing to go out, hang out, go out to eat, do things because it's not as stressful financially.
That's so interesting. So you're saying like it's it was more but just like financial constraints that made you introverted, quote
Hmm.
unquote, when in reality you're like, I think I enjoy going out. I just now have more freedom or means to do so.
Definitely.
Where on the on like like a spectrum of like introvert to extrovert are you from like 1 to 10? Do you think
Yeah.
you lie?
So when I did the Myers Briggs, I was actually pretty much, I started much more introverted, but I think as I started teaching and getting older, it actually has got pretty much like 50-50.
Okay, so like almost in the middle, ambivert sort of.
Yeah. If we want to go with those terms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting. I feel like I'm the same too. Like I think I know I'm naturally introverted, like getting energy, recovering, etc. But I think also depending on my role in that space, like if I'm a leader, I turn into an ENTJ. But if I'm like by myself or whatever, INTJ, but then also with good friends, like it could be either or. So maybe it's like common for people who are right around the middle. Okay, let's see. Actually, one more thing on the side hustle culture too. So like I know that's a constraint of money, but so how I approach this and just maybe food for thought for the audience is like I always knew that I wanted to be financially comfortable so that I can do everything that I want to do for free and not have to like work on it necessarily. And I'm sure you feel the same way, right? Like we enjoy our hobbies and we don't necessarily want to turn them into careers. Like dancing for me, for example. Like I've taught dancing, but I prefer to just dance and not make money off of it. And I always wanted to make sure that my finances and my career was so stable that I could do everything else that I want outside of my job for free and for fun. But like you said, there might be some constraints where like, okay, you need to make more money in order to reach a goal. And that totally makes sense. But then your mental health is the trade-off, right?
Yeah, no, I like what you said. There's this thought I've had about it too, where with your job, you can kind of have one of two situations. You love what you do and it pays the bills, or you treat it like a job, get the bills paid, then do what you love after it. One's definitely easier and more feasible than the other. I'll let you decide which one that is, but they both can work, obviously.
Of course.
And then from there,
Yeah.
it's just choosing which path you're willing to take and want to take. So I think for both of us, we took the safer, more confident option that allowed us to enjoy our hobbies still and have a job that does what we need.
Yeah, of course. And of course, it'd be super nice to have like a job that you're super passionate about. I'm like, I'm definitely still open to finding that. But it's like, okay, I'll take care of my health first before trying to like, you know, do all this other extra stuff, right? Like take care of my finances. I like that.
Yeah, I think it
Okay.
also relates to why I teach as well. I kind of weighed the pros and cons of everything. Even once I learned about computer science as a field, I'm a nerd. I love computers. I love playing games. It should have made sense, but I thought about it and I didn't imagine myself sitting at a computer, like just grinding away at codes for that long without interacting with my coworkers. That sounds miserable. I would burn out so fast. So I feel like
Mm,
teaching has this nice balance of where it's still a job, but at least I enjoy my day by day. And it's always fun. Something different always happens.
yeah. Okay. We might circle back to career advice in a
Yeah.
second, but I want to ask about struggles of dating. So you did mention this. What are your thoughts on that if you want to elaborate?
I think it all kind of ties in. You kind of got to it where like I do so much with my different hobbies already that a social life does become harder to balance. And I think because I have been single most of my life, I've done so many different things at my own pace. It's really hard for me to be fully content in a relationship. It has happened before, but it is difficult because I only have, so much time. And I feel like with dating, you are essentially allowing someone else into your life and you need to either one, like somehow fit perfectly or make it fit. For me, that has been a little bit difficult. And that's just for me personally. That's not I'm talking about like the current dating culture of our day and age.
Yeah. So like, what is the current dating culture? I've been
And
out of the dating game
yeah,
for
you've
a
been
while,
out
but
of
I
it.
don't know.
Congrats. Good job.
Not trying to
um,
brag. I'm just saying.
let's see. Interesting things. It's kind of location based. I visited New York not too long ago, so I got to hear my friends experience dating over there. I think here we're still pretty reliant on the apps. in New York, apparently everyone like avoids the apps now because it's just been so much bad luck that their hope is they meet someone through like their friends. For me here, I've been on and off the apps, currently off it, but I don't know. It's just tough. I feel like everyone is so focused on doing their things. It's also something my friend talked about a lot too. Like we are trying to grind, make money. We're kind of focused on that aspect of our life. It does make it harder then to have this social life, have this dating life.
Okay, so you're saying that maybe, I guess, West Coast, SoCal, or whatever, that it's hard to have a dating life because everyone that are in the market are focused on like their career and everything or themselves.
Yeah, I think it's like a part of it. I think social media, dating apps as well. I think part of the experience is that people have been kind of focused on themselves and accomplishing their goals. Like with my age group now, a lot of people could finish like med school, dental school, whatever schools that they have then kind of elevated what they want from a partner. But at the same time, because they waited so long, their dating pool has decreased and changed. And I kind of feel like that too, like obviously I had some good relationships throughout the years, but because of my own maybe poor prioritizing, I chose to work on my hobbies, careers. And while I've got there, I've now kind of stunted my dating life.
Okay, so it's just a trade off then. Okay, so then you currently in the market? Is it? And I asked Ronnie these same questions, right? Like,
Eh,
what is the moving forward now? Like, okay, I'm on the market, gonna put energy towards it, or is it like maybe not right now, or we'll see?
Yeah, I think I'm open to it. I'm looking a little more at the moment, but I've kind of got an idea of like what I want out of my partner. And I think a lot of people, they kind of thought like I want someone with similar hobbies. But for me, I think it's more a personality thing where they just enjoy doing life with me and also make my life better, if that makes sense.
One thing that you did mention, I'm curious about, is that you said it's hard to be content when dating. What did you mean by that specifically? Is it just like content because you want to prioritize more time for these things you want to do, or is it because there's something within being in a relationship that's difficult?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when I mentioned that. So if I just think right now, I think part of it is like with the rise of social media, or at least dating apps, it seems like your pool is so much bigger. So I feel like competition nowadays is you're always kind of left wondering, like, what if? Like, what if someone else is better for me out there?
So it's like there's a lot of options and it feels like there's always a better option. And so therefore it's like, why would I be content with this when there's like a 10 out of 10 somewhere out there who is waiting for
Yeah, which
me?
isn't very healthy. And that is something you do need to kind of resolve and talk about and figure out with yourself. And I think that is kind of the beauty of when you choose a long-term partner. You're literally committing like, okay, this is the person I want to build my life with and spend the rest of the time with. And so for me, I think part of the struggle is I love my life right now. I've been doing all these things. I have a great life. And so for me with my partner, I need them literally to make my life better. And
Mm,
so that could be difficult.
that makes sense. It's like, it's kind of a high bar. Like, how can you add to my life when I'm so happy already?
Yeah.
Not in a negative way, but you're just like, that's just the reality, right? It's not like I'm a I don't know how to phrase like broken person, but it's like, oh, I feel like I'm lacking. And so therefore anyone will do as opposed to like, oh no, I'm so happy. So like if I were to bring someone else, it has to be a value add, not a value subtract, right?
Yeah, I think that is one of the issues too, where people are missing something in their life, and they try to find that in dating. That's where you also have
Yeah.
issues.
hmm Yeah. Okay. That's all I have for the questions. Did we miss anything in this section? Otherwise we can move to rapid fire.
You can try the rapid fire
So first one then, first official one. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life and what did you learn from it?
challenges.
Like easy. Everything's been easy.
No, everything definitely not been easy. See, it's weird for me to say it's like a challenge because it's just my life. People who knew me growing up, I think more so know this story. But when my parents divorced, I went to a children's home. So I was at the Orange Wood Children's Home near the outlets of Orange. And then eventually I had a foster mom for a little bit as well. So this is like a really short stint, maybe like half a year total of my life, probably less. And I feel like from there, that just totally changed the trajectory of my life. Not necessarily good or bad, but that's just the way my life is now. So I feel like most of my time growing up, people always say I was really mature for my age. And I feel like that experience just made me mature really early. Yeah. So then for me, like in terms of learning from it, I feel like it gave me perspective in my life where your life is what it is and, what you make of it. Like, these are the cards you're dealt. That's not gonna change. Now, what you decide to do with that is totally up to you. So, I think one of the issues with, like, the billboard question for me is, like, I don't really hold on to a lot of things and ideas. Like, if you ask me my favorite or, like, what's super important, I'm really bad at answering those questions because for me, like, I just experience it, process it, and then try and grow from it, and I don't really, like, hold on to these ideas.
I see. Okay, so you feel like that maybe that experience made you become more independent or kind of mature faster.
Yeah, kinda just made me who I am today, and, like, I don't know what the other version of myself could have been, but
Right, right. Okay, next question. Self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life and it was your fault and you can't blame anyone else because you did it to yourself?
I'm sure there are many, but you learn from them, like you just said. It's kind of a funny one. Went on a cruise with some friends. Back then, I barely do weed, but I tried weed in, like, an edible form, and I found it was a really good pre-workout for me for some reason. Like, I was super hyped, tunnel visioned on my exercise. So on the cruise, I wanted to bring some because maybe it could be fun, but I honestly wanted to use it as a pre-workout also.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, like, I brought it to Mexico, brought it back from Mexico. I had to rush to a wedding, so I was, like, walking really fast ahead of my friends, and that caused the border patrol to flag me down. Like, suspicious. This guy is walking by himself from a cruise." So they thought I was, like, a drug mule or something probably, and stupid enough, they found edibles in my bag,
Yeah.
so I actually got fined, like, $500 for it, which
Damn.
fresh out of college seemed like a lot of money. But now things are fine. I don't think it was ever on my record. I just recently got approved for global entry,
Nice.
but it's a really funny story that could have been a lot worse, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't
So, okay, so you're not allowed to bring edibles on a cruise.
know. No, because we came to Mexico and then back, so you cross the border with drugs.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah, and this is
yeah.
back then when I think weed was legalized, maybe? I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong.
Okay. I will say you're the
Yeah.
first person I've ever heard of saying weed is a pre-workout. I
Hey,
couldn't
try
even
try the
fathom.
one.
I see, because I've tried weed, right? And I've been high before, but I'm like, I can't even imagine trying to focus on a workout. I guess with the types of strains that I've had, but I'm like chill, but like I feel like I couldn't focus. I don't know, man. I'll
Yeah,
think
I could
about it.
only focus
I'll
on
let you
one
know.
thing. That was it. I couldn't do anything else. But like, I
Yeah.
actually did it once climbing as well. I climbed
Okay.
amazing. I could not talk to my friends. I could not make coherent sentences.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Okay. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be? Or words of wisdom that has impacted you the most? Just as a thought experiment.
Yeah, let's see. It's also a thought I've been having more recently, and I'm sure as you and our peers have got older, we're all probably realizing it. But like, just do what you want to do. I have done that a lot, but there have been a lot of times where I have had like the social anxiety, this fear of being judged by my peers, and didn't do things. I'm definitely a lot more comfortable and confident with myself right now. But I was literally like one of the shyest kids ever growing up. Like, I remember when I was younger, my parents would try to make me pay the cashier, and I was too scared to talk to them. So I feel like if I just got over these things when I was earlier, kind of just live the life that I wanted to do, doing things I wanted to do even more, then I would be even happier than I am right now.
How do you define success?
I think success comes from you being happy with yourself. Because in all of the hobbies I do, and I guess everything I do, there's a point where you are happy. Rather, that means you've achieved your goal or you're content with where you're at. And I think in both those situations, you are a success. So, for my friends who may be better or worse at these sports, interest, hobbies than I am, I think they're successful, no matter if they're better or worse than me. I think it kind of relates back to that previous idea. Like, I feel like individually, we're all such harder critics on ourselves than anyone else is towards us. So if you just hold yourself to the same level of accountability that like other people view you as, I feel like you would free yourself so much to do all the things you want to do.
Next one. What is something that separates the younger version of you from the current version of you?
I feel like you're saying money so much, which I'm not that, I don't care that much about money. But let's just say it's the freedom that being more financially secure has enabled me. Like I mentioned, I'm going out a lot more. I'm doing things I haven't been able to do ever growing up. Like I got freaking Invisalign because my teeth, too poor to get braces. So while money at a certain point is important, what's more important is you enable yourself to do the things you really want to do. Like, I just recently went to Japan for the first time. Great, loved it.
Nice.
I can probably say this is the first time I ever traveled somewhere where I didn't feel like I had this thought of like, this is great, this is fun, but like my regular life is really fun too, you know? Because I feel like mostly when they travel, they want to escape from their day life. But I've tried really hard to make a daily life I love and enjoy. So when I was in Japan, I was like, damn, this is really nice. I see why people love it. And I'm trying to go back already end of this year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel it, man. I've been to Japan 4 times already, and I'm like, I think it's just gonna be a yearly trip at this point because,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
what
can
he's saying.
travel
It's
to
pretty
different
common.
countries. Yeah, but Japan is just so good. Do you have a favorite hot take or something you think most people won't agree with?
I think going to school, college, community college, it's kind of overrated. And again, this is coming from me, who is a chemistry community college professor.
Okay. Can we double click on that? Like, why is it overrated?
Yeah. So I think we were kind of fortunate and we went straight to UCI, but I feel like that was also unfortunate because I don't know your GPA and I'm not assuming anything. But I feel like there's this culture at UCI where school was almost secondary,
Mm,
where we went to school, we got our degree eventually, but most of our time there, we were kind of enjoying our time there, doing dance teams, hanging out with friends, doing whatever shenanigans we get into. Where I feel like if we maybe had more of a goal and focus towards education, it definitely could have panned out better. But I think also today, with how prominent the internet and social media is, there are a lot of jobs out there that your schooling isn't necessarily required to get you into. Not to
mm.
say school is completely useless because I need my job, but while school is good, it kind of raises your minimum bar where you can then qualify for these certain positions. And I think kind of ties back to our idea of like you can have this safe route or you can kind of go ham and do what you love and try to be a Twitch streamer or whatever.
There's a lot of good points in there. So you're saying that for at least for our experience,
Mhm.
if we took our education more seriously, we could have probably gotten more out of it. But back to your original thought, which was it was, education kind of generally being overrated because with today's society, you can be successful without necessarily a career, but then you also jump back and say, but also it's a minimum bar that sometimes to get
Yeah.
into the door, you need to check the box of college, right? Um,
Yeah, and also especially today, like the economy realistically is doing worse, the job market's doing worse, and that literally means the payoff for school is worse. There is still this level of security you get from it, but and I think it's actually a really it's a growing issue with Gen Z, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but realistically, their outlook for their future is more and more bleak. So it's actually it's being studied, and there are things about it where there's kind of this DGAF mentality, like don't give a fuck mentality for Gen Z towards their future. And I totally agree. I understand. Like, why would they want to spend all this time investment in school, going these expensive programs, maybe go to debt? When they're gonna live their life and not be able to financially achieve their goals anyways. And at that point, yeah, why not maybe be a little more risky, do something off the beaten path that maybe school isn't required, but understanding there is then the risk associated with that where you could do a lot worse compared to if you just went to school.
I like that. I think that's a very good hot take coming from a college professor.
Yeah, but go to college, I need my bills to be paid, pay a
Yeah,
community college, which a lot of them
yeah,
are really low cost and free nowadays.
right. No, that. I feel like the ROI is definitely better for that, or maybe that's just a butcher selling meat. Cool. All right, last one, rapid fire then, so we can wrap this up. Favorite recent purchase in the $50 to $100 range that has impacted your life the most in the last, let's say, 6 months.
Sounds good. I mentioned it, went to Japan, I bought this, probably gonna say around like, wait, is it Horai? I could be wrong. Same thing they wear in
What
Demon
is?
Slayer. Super
Oh,
sick.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
dope.
has like this embroidered on the inside. I wear it whenever I walk my dog now because I tend to be shirtless
Nice,
in my house.
nice.
Super cool. I was actually a little under 50. I think it was like 30 something dollars. But anywhere else I went, it was like 50 plus for something like comparable, I would say. So I found a really good deal. And it reminds me of Japan. Makes me feel very cool. Probably look ridiculous walking outside with it. But it's very convenient to throw on when I'm walking my dog.
Mm. Okay, follow-up question. Were you looking for that before, or did you stumble upon it and then bought it?
Kind of, actually. I stumbled upon it specifically, but I've actually had something of that sort in my Amazon basket for like forever. I
I
just couldn't
see.
really justify it because I felt like it'd be really crappy quality, and it's gonna be like 20
Yeah.
bucks already anyways. So I was
Yeah.
really happy with paying like an extra $10 for something with the memories of Japan and much higher quality.
Like souvenir higher quality too.
Yeah. I will admit it's news though, so that probably helped the cost.
All right, cool. And the rapid fire questions. Is there anything you feel like we left out? Any words of wisdom you want to give to our audience? I think it's been great so far.
Thanks, pretty good. Pretty happy with the conversation and enjoyed catching up with you as well, JR.
Sweet. Nice. Okay, well, I guess we'll have another check-in right after this, but so any questions? First one, gratitude. Shout out to my mom. We always end with gratitude. So, Mai, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for my body that allows me to do all the things that I do. Like you mentioned, getting older, you're feeling your back more. I definitely feel some joints more, but realistically, if I wasn't physically capable of doing the things I do, I'd probably be depressed and pretty miserable.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you have a final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you'd like them to have from this conversation?
I think more just a reiteration of my ideas, but go out and do the things you want to do. Don't let you stop yourself from being you.
Nice. That is the answer to the billboard question, by the way. So you did answer that. Snuck that one in. Cool. All right. And final question, Mai, where can people find you if they want to check out what you're up to or connect or anything like that?
I already mentioned my college, so please don't stalk me there. That'd be weird. But you can find me on IG at either my personal Instagram, my underscore TVO, or my rock climbing Instagram, my climbs.
Nice. Yeah. And I'll link to that in the show notes and description so you guys will find it. Feel free to stalk him. He just gave you permission. Stalk him
Not
online,
at
not in
IBC,
person.
only on
Not in
social
person. Yeah,
media.
not at IBC, which you can definitely Google and just hang out and definitely see where he's at. Cool. All right, Mai, thank you so much for this conversation. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. It was cool to get your backstory, your insights. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think teachers and coaches and people who like to teach what they've learned are always my favorite guests because I feel like y'all are good at reflecting and it's perfectly aligns with what I want from this show. So I appreciate you. So before we stop the recording, I'll do my final sign off. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave us 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to. I really appreciate it. It helps with findability. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And remember that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thank you guys for being here.
Sounds good.